Europe in the late 1970s. A continent stitched together by motorways, moustaches, and mutual distrust. And nowhere was that more visible than on the road. On today's episode of Four Wheels and Fuel, we pit three continental titans against each other, not in a race, but in a duel of national identity, engineering quirks, and sheer automotive audacity. First up, from the land of pasta, passion, and unpredictable electrics, the Fiat One Two Eight. The first front-wheel drive Fiat that actually worked, mostly. Zippy, charming, and as Italian as shouting at traffic while smoking. It may look like a box on wheels, but this box changed the game. Then there's the Audi 100C2, the kind of car that doesn't shout, it calculates. Sleek, efficient, and aerodynamic before it was trendy. This second-generation Audi saloon is Germany's way of saying, we're not flashy, we're just better than you. And finally, because no trip through Europe is complete without a little French drama, the CX 2200. It doesn't drive, it glides. Hydro-pneumatic suspension, spaceship dashboard, brakes that feel like a sneeze, and looks that whisper, I'm different and I won't explain myself. Three cars, three philosophies, one test. Which nation built the car that could charm your wallet, challenge your patience, and possibly leak the least? Spoiler alert, it's not the one with the suspension that hisses when you park it. So strap in, grab a croissant, a bratwurst, and a bottle of Chianti. We're crossing borders, burning petrol, and probably upsetting purists. This is episode 5.
Tutti vi dicono quanto sono economiche le loro lussuose automobili. Noi invece vogliamo mostrarvi quanto è lussuosa la Fiat 128 Special. Fuori ha tutte le caratteristiche di una grossa automobile. Grandi paraurti, pneumatici radiali, tappo del serbatoio con chiusura a chiave. Dentro ha soffici tappeti, accendisigari, schienali reclinabili, lavacristallo elettrico. Fiat 128 Special, più economica di un'auto di lusso, più lussuosa di un'auto economica.
Fiat One Two Eight. Italy might be famous for Ferraris and Lamborghinis, but for the average Italian family in the 1970s, horsepower came in smaller portions and more affordable packaging. Enter the Fiat One Two Eight, the boxy little miracle that made front-wheel drive cool before it was mainstream. Launched in 1969, the 128 wasn't flashy. It didn't scream down the autostrada. It didn't hang out in Monte Carlo with its shirt unbuttoned to the navel, but it did revolutionize small car design. Fiat's engineers, in a rare moment of clarity or espresso overdose, nailed the holy trinity of modern motoring: transverse engine, front-wheel drive, and independent suspension. The result? A car that handled like it actually wanted to stay on the road. Under the bonnet, a 1.1-liter four-cylinder engine pushing out a modest 55 horsepower. Doesn't sound like much, but the whole car weighed less than your average English breakfast, so it felt nippy, especially in the city. The steering was sharp, the gearbox was sweet, and the ride, well, it was Italian. Soft enough to be forgiving, firm enough to wake your passengers. Inside, the 128 was basic but bright. You got vinyl seats, a speedometer, and, if you splurged, a radio that crackled like a campfire. It wasn't about luxury, it was about freedom. This was the car that let Italians take holidays, drive to work, and sneak off into the countryside with a date and a bottle of wine in the back. And it wasn't just a local hero. The 128 was named European Car of the Year in 1970. It sold in the millions. It was copied, licensed, and admired around the world. Of course, being Italian, it came with its own temperament. Rust? Optional. Electrics? Occasional. Build quality? Let's just say every 128 was slightly different, like a snowflake but with panel gaps. But flaws aside, the Fiat 128 was clever, charismatic, and criminally underrated. It didn't need speed to make you smile, just a twisty road, a little sun, and the ability to outcorner anything in its weight class. If the 128 were a person, it'd be your charming cousin who shows up uninvited, drinks all your wine, but tells such good stories you let him stay.
In 1976, the C2 is released with a new body. The inline 5-cylinder gasoline engine with 136 metric horsepower attracts particular attention.
Audi 100 C2. If the Fiat 128 was a lively little espresso shot, the Audi 100 C2 was an entire German board meeting in saloon form, punctual, efficient, and slightly intimidating. Launched in 1976 as the second generation of the Audi 100, the C2 marked Audi's attempt to leave behind its NSU weirdness and step firmly into the executive lounge. And they did it with a shape so smooth it made competitors look like they were carved from bricks. This wasn't just a car, it was an aerodynamic mission statement. The body was long, low, and whisper-sleek for its time. You didn't need a spoiler or vents. The 100 just sliced through the wind with all the subtle drama of a tax audit. Under the bonnet, a range of inline 4s and 5s. Yes, 5s. Including the now iconic 2-liter 5-cylinder, a layout Audi would cling to like Lederhosen at Oktoberfest. For our purposes, let's focus on the 2-liter inline 5. Smooth, sonorous, and properly German. Not fast, mind you, but confident, like a maths teacher in a tweed jacket. Power figures hovered around 115 horsepower, giving the Audi respectable performance without ever ruffling its neatly pressed lapels. It wasn't built to win races, it was built to get you to your appointment in Dusseldorf without being late or annoyed. Inside, the 100 C2 was a temple of tan upholstery and sensible switchgear. Everything worked. Everything made sense. It was German minimalism before that became an IKEA lifestyle. Even the indicator stalks felt like they'd been engineered for military use. And of course, it was front-wheel drive, a bold move for a car this size at the time. It gave you security in the wet, even if it robbed a bit of excitement in the dry. But this wasn't about excitement, it was about arriving, silently, on time, and probably with a stack of paperwork in the boot. The Audi 100 C2 didn't shout. It hummed. It didn't beg for attention. It earned it, slowly, steadily, with the quiet confidence of a car that knew it would still be going when its flashier rivals were scrap. In a world full of show-offs, the 100 was content being the grown-up.
Power steering into fifth. Fingertip controls. Oh. Hello.
Anything wrong, dear?
No, I just woke up. I thought I left the lights on.
I know it's beautiful, dear, but what if...
Citroën CX.
I'm the one who'll have to...
It's irresistible.
Citroën CX 2200. If you've ever looked at a car and thought, why be normal? Then the Citroën CX 2200 is your spirit animal, or spirit alien, really, because nothing about this car feels remotely terrestrial. Introduced in 1974 as the spiritual successor to the legendary DS, the CX wasn't just a car, it was a fever dream on wheels. Everything was curved, tapered, stretched like a melted bar of soap. And it worked. The CX was so aerodynamic, it actually earned its name from the French term for drag coefficient, coefficient de traînée, shortened to CX. Yes, Citroën named a car after a math formula. Très français. Now, the 2200 part refers to the 2.2-liter inline-4 engine under the bonnet. It wasn't especially fast, making around 112 horsepower, but that hardly mattered. Because driving a CX wasn't about speed, it was about sensation. The suspension? Hydrop pneumatic. That means it rode on compressed nitrogen and mineral oil. At idle, the car squatted like it was lounging in a Parisian cafe, turned the key, and it hissed to life, rising on its haunches like a suspicious cat.
Der Holperstrecke ab. Dort, wo den meisten Wagen kaum mehr als 40 Kilometer pro Stunde zugemutet werden kann, verträgt er anstandslos 60, ohne dass der Fahrer dieses Tempo als übermäßig unkomfortabel empfindet. Allerdings hat die Technik auch ihre Grenzen.
Speed bumps? Didn't exist. Potholes? Irrelevant. It didn't drive. It hovered. Inside, it was full-on science fiction. The dashboard looked like it came straight out of a lunar module. The steering wheel had just one spoke, supposedly for safety, though in practice it made you feel like you were piloting a blimp across Saturn's rings. But this wasn't just weird for the sake of it. Michel Hamand, the man behind the dash, was obsessed with ergonomics. He believed that the driver should be able to control everything, horn, lights, indicators, wipers, using just their fingertips without ever taking their hands off the wheel. So what did that mean? Well, the indicator stalks were gone. Instead, you had a series of buttons flanking the wheel like something from a French fighter jet. Even the turn signals didn't cancel themselves. You had to tap them off manually, as if the car was saying, "You made this decision, you live with it." And then there were the lunules, two glassy eyeballs embedded in the dash. Behind them, your speed or RPM spun around on little rotating drums, like something out of an arcade game. Above those, a tidy row of warning lights. Left of that, a tiny analog clock. Dead center, your odometer. And to the right, the fuel gauge, looking like an afterthought from a pinball machine. Was it practical? No. Was it reliable? Only if you bribed it with fine wine. But was it cool? My God, yes. It was impossibly, irrationally, unmistakably French. The CX 2200 was the kind of car that didn't care what you thought. It smoked, it slouched, it rattled in poetry. It made rivals look pedestrian and made its drivers feel like they were in on a secret. You didn't just buy a CX, you made a statement. A confusing, hydraulic, wonderfully eccentric statement. Three cars, three personalities, one continent-wide identity crisis. The Fiat 128 danced through cities with caffeinated charm. The Audi 100 C2 made German efficiency look sexy. And the CX 2200? It floated, sighed, and reminded us that cars can be art, or at least well-styled madness. It may be forgotten in showrooms, but not in hearts. Did one of these cars play a role in your life? Share your story with us. Next time, we're staying closer to home. British steel, rally legends, and just a whiff of petrol-scented nostalgia. You won't want to miss it. So hit that like button, subscribe to 4 Wheels and Fuel, and prepare your ears. The next exhaust note might just be Union Jack approved.